Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you about a bill that will be introduced into the House this week by Representative Diana DeGette. She's a Democrat from Colorado. This bill has 125 co-sponsors, all of which I believe are Democrats. However, it does have support from some formerly pro-gun representatives, such as Lindsey Graham, who have expressed interest in passing such a bill. This bill poses a very real threat. They're trying to push it to a vote as quickly as this week. And there's a reason for that. But first, let's talk about what this bill seeks to ban. This bill is independent of the assault weapons ban that will be introduced by Dianne Feinstein into the Senate later, presumably this month. This bill is standalone and seeks to ban magazines over 10 rounds in capacity. This will affect all handguns, rifles, and shotguns that accept detachable magazines. For the most part, some may have magazines that only have 5 rounds, but just about every modern sporting rifle or handgun or shotgun that accepts a detachable magazine can accept one with over 10 rounds. The bill will grandfather magazines already out there in circulation, so the millions and millions of magazines already out there won't be affected by this bill directly. You'll be able to keep them as they will be grandfathered. However, it will ban the manufacture, sale, and transfer of new magazines, as well as banning the transfer of grandfathered magazines. If you have them, you can keep them, but you cannot transfer them to somebody else under threat of penalty of law, which may be as severe as a felony. If you go to trade in your Beretta 92 handgun that has a 15 or 17 round magazine, once you go to trade it in, you cannot transfer the magazines that shipped with the gun originally to the dealer or sell them to another individual. You can sell the gun, but you have to keep the magazines. When you die, those magazines will probably be destroyed. They can't be handed down to relatives. They can't be passed along to anybody else. There's a reason why this bill is going to a vote so quickly, or why the gun grabbers are pushing to have this vote go to the floor so quickly. The reason is that they have action plans in place. They wait for such tragedies to happen so they can quickly pounce to capitalize on the emotions that typically run high after such shootings. Understandably, many of us are fathers, mothers, family members that are sometimes touched by these national tragedies. They seek to capitalize on these emotions because they understand that once calmer heads prevail, typically, according to them, about 4 weeks later, they have a lower chance of pushing these bills through because people are unwilling to give up their constitutional rights after the emotions subside. As evidence of this, there's a gentleman by the name of Mark Glaze, who is the director of Mayors Against Illegal Guns, and he went on record in the Huffington Post and said this: "Look, when this kind of thing happens, we have to make the case in a very short window, what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how you can fix it. In a way, that motivates Congress to do what it should. With something as terrible as this, in reference to the Sandy Hook shooting, involving children, the window is open a little wider than it has been before. I think my back of the envelope is usually about a month. But after the series of mass shootings and the gravity of this one, I think we may have a little more time." They know that they have to act quickly to strip you of your constitutional rights because they realize once you come back to your senses, you're not going to want to give those rights up. So they have these action plans in place and they execute them as quickly as possible, and that's why DeGette's bill is going to be pushed to the floor right now in the first week of the new Congress for 2013, and they're going to pressure Speaker of the House Boehner to allow it to a vote. We need to stop this bill before it goes to a vote. We need to pressure Boehner not to allow it to go to a vote. And why do I say that? You may think that we have a Republican majority in the House that will protect your gun rights, and we don't. First of all, not all Republicans are pro-gun, okay? Secondly, there are many pro-gun Republicans that are signaling they may support a measure such as this. There's a lot of backroom deals that goes on in the halls of Congress. They may want to make a deal for taxes, and they may be willing to give up magazines over 10 rounds to get those tax cuts. All sorts of dirty dealings go on in the halls of Congress, and this is likely to pass if it goes to a vote. Why do I say that? Because this is not nearly as heavy-handed as the assault weapons ban, which will be introduced into the Senate by Dianne Feinstein later this month. It's standalone. We may actually see this law come to pass if we don't pick up the pen and fight right now. DeGette knows, and that's the representative that's introducing this bill, she knows that such laws rarely have any effect on crime. As evidence of this, in a recent news article, she said the following: "I'm not so naive as to think that we can pass some law that will stop a deranged person from taking a gun and shooting people." Right there she admits that laws don't stop people from doing things. However, what I am interested in is making it as difficult as possible for that deranged person to shoot as many people as possible. So she admits that the laws don't really have any effect, but she wants to push ahead with passing a law anyway. In essence, she wants to pass a meaningless law for feel-good reasons that will make her constituents that support her in her gun-grabbing efforts make it feel like they've accomplished something, when in essence they haven't really accomplished anything at all. If they want to pass meaningless laws, making it hard for deranged people to kill other people, why don't they pass some meaningless law that says you must hold your breath, you can't breathe air while you're committing a crime? I mean, nobody's going to pay attention to the law anyway, but certainly if people are paying attention to the laws, they're going to hold their breath when they're trying to kill other people, and it's going to make their task just a little bit more difficult. It has no basis in logic or even common sense what she's proposing. These endless, mindless laws do have a purpose, though. Incrementally, they want to erode our gun rights, bit by bit by bit. They reach for the low-hanging fruit. A magazine over 10 rounds to them seems to be low-hanging fruit. They can quickly go for that, grab it, and get that first paper cut. And it's death by 1,000 paper cuts, folks. That's what they're shooting for. They realize, they know that the statistics from the FBI show that firearms like the AR-15, the AK, the firearms that they're targeting with these laws account for less than 1% of those firearms used in violent crime. They're a statistical zero. They also want you to believe that these mass shootings are commonplace, and they are not. They're very rare. But due to the media hype and all the attention that they get, people seem to think that children across the nation are in danger of being killed, and they're really not. As a matter of fact, violent crime in this country over the last 20 years has gone down over 50%. Gun violence is at its lowest in the last 20 years. The firearms that are typically used in crimes are not the mythical assault weapon. It's handguns, it's rifles, it's shotguns. But they're not going after those, claiming that it's for the safety of the children. They're going after what they deem to be the low-hanging fruit. It's the next paper cut. We need to act now to stop this legislation from moving forward. If this goes to a vote right now, there's a very real chance that it will pass. You need to write your congressman, your senators, and the President of the United States. I'm going to put a link down below that you can follow that will make that task very simple. Enter your name, your zip code. It will come up with a list of your representatives and the President of the United States. Type in a message saying you oppose this bill and send it. We're going to have to do this over and over. We have 4 years of anti-gun measures to combat. This is a war of attrition, folks. They're going to keep introducing these bills one after the other, hoping that eventually one of them sticks, or more than one sticks. This administration is very hostile to our constitutional rights, and we're going to have to remain diligent and fight this tooth and nail endlessly, and this is the first battle of the year that we're going to have to fight for the next 4 years. Please pick up the pen. Please be active. This is going to affect firearms across the spectrum. It doesn't matter if you're a hunter, if you're interested in personal defense, if you're a three-gun shooter, it doesn't matter. These laws will affect you, and you need to be politically active right now. Now, to showcase the absurdity of this law on its face, I want to show you a quick clip that I shot this weekend demonstrating how quickly magazines can be changed and why such a law really will have very little effect in the long run. What these laws, again, are seeking to do is to grab bits and pieces of our rights, and the long-term strategy is eventually registering and confiscating all firearms. Let's take a look at that clip really quick. What I want to do is show you the difference between a magazine over 10 rounds. I'm going to use 20 rounds in a 30-round magazine. I have 20 rounds loaded here. I have 2 targets set up downrange. I'm going to engage those 2 targets, firing back and forth for a total of 20 rounds. After that, I have 2 30-round magazines here that have 10 rounds loaded each to simulate a band magazine, or a magazine band magazine. So there's 10 rounds each for a total of 20 rounds. I'm going to have to fire 10 rounds, reload, and continue firing. We're going to do this on the shot timer. We're going to see how much time difference there is between a reload to fire off 20 rounds, either 20 from a full magazine, or 20 from one magazine, or 10 rounds from 2. So here we go. Go ahead. All right, that was 20 rounds, and I'm aiming and engaging each target. I'm going to do the same thing now with two 30-round magazines, each loaded with 10 rounds. What was the time on that? 15.30. 15.30 seconds for that 20 rounds fired on two targets. We're going to do that again with the reload this time. Go. What was the time?
15.57.
15.57, so about a half a second difference. So we're going to face the ban for a half a second. Again, folks, please, I ask that you join the fight for our rights, that you become active. Follow the link down below and send those letters to your congressmen, to your senators, and to the President of the United States. If you have any questions about this video, you can ask those questions on our Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/military arms. Thank you, everybody, for your continued support, and thank you for fighting for our rights.